name is Marvin Rotran. I'm the city councilor for Snowden, which starts at Victoria Avenue and goes this way. My colleague Lionel Perez is the councilor for Darlington, which starts at Victoria and goes that way. And he cannot be here today because of Shabbat. He is observant, but he supports the work that we are doing with tenants on Bourret. Je vais donner mon discours préliminaire en anglais, étant donné qu'il y a seulement une et demie média francophone, celle de LCN, et le devoir doit être ici pendant retard. Je vais faire des interviews individuelles avec eux après. So we're going to speak mostly in English today. Welcome to Bourret Avenue. That's how we say it in English in the borough of Côte-de-Neiges, NDG. My wife grew up on the street, actually, when she moved from the United Kingdom, so I know the street really well. It's a nice street with nice people and affordable rent. There's never, ever been any trouble over here. And there's never been evictions. When there are problems, landlords have worked with tenants, and it's been resolved. But like many other streets in this neighborhood, there is growing concern about reno-eviction. In the past year, a new player has appeared on Bourret Avenue and other parts of the territory of Côte-de-Neiges. And that player is Cogir, a major property manager for commercial property, for office space, and some residential. In the last days, I've become aware that up to 50 families have received notices to appear in front of the rental board with the possibility that they will be evicted. And these include families who have lived on this street 20 and 30 years and more. In fact, Mr. Weinstein has lived here 37 years. Now, the tenants are telling me they feel that Cogir is acting in bad faith and using methods aimed at one goal only, to get rid of them. Now, here are the facts. In January, Cogir sent this notice. This notice gives the impression that tenants have to move. They were given two options. One, they would get $6,000 and they could move into a renovated unit at far higher rent than they were paying, or they could agree to move and they would get $3,500 in moving expenses. It's only after we asked questions and you, the media, followed up on this, that Cogir said, oh no, it's inaccurate. It's true that tenants have valid leases and that they can stay and they don't have to pay more rent. In fact, we're withdrawing the letter. But it was only because we mediated the problem that Cogir backed down. But it got the tenants to think that Cogir's goal is to get rid of affordable housing in Snowden and Côte-de-Neiges and double rents. And in that backdrop, I can now tell you that tenants in 8 buildings, including the one behind me right here, have received notices to evict them. In fact, some have actually been evicted, and we are going to be appealing that. All of these are for minor reasons, and some of the tenants say that they are for spurious reasons. We have one lady here who forgot to pay $23 additional because her lease conditions changed. She wasn't aware of that. She had forgotten that. She didn't pay. They cashed her check and took her to the rental board and won an eviction of $23. She's lived here more than 20 years. This neighborhood is mostly lower income families, many immigrants, many visible minorities. A lot of people don't know their rights. And when there's a power imbalance, a big player like Cogir going after low-income tenants, it's entirely unfair. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth and gives me the impression that Cogir is uncaring. Is this the image they want to give to their commercial and business clients? Because what other conclusion can we come to? As the councilor for the Snowden district, I have to ask Cogir, are you trying to force out these tenants? I don't expect this type of behavior from a major firm that holds so much commercial property. The tenants are here to tell their story. One thing that's come about that I consider extremely positive is the community groups have rallied rather quickly. We will be working to give the tenants legal aid. We will be backing them up at the rental board, and we will be organizing the neighborhood to assure that tenants are not abused. I'm going to introduce a few people before I call the first speaker to speak. Margaret Van Noten from Project Jeunesse. Project Genesis. It is a storefront community service organization that also provides housing information. Sharon Nelson, the Vice President of the Jamaica Association of Montreal. Sonny Morose, who is the Chief of Outreach for Member of Parliament Anthony Hausfather. Joseph Gonzalez, the Vice President External for the Filipino Association of Montreal and Summit. This press conference was put together quickly, and I have to note the leading role of Cesar Manuel from Ang Sang Makabayan, who alerted me to some of the problems going on here, gave me some names, allowed me to make some phone calls, and which is why I reached out to you yesterday. I thank all of you on such short notice for being here to tell the tenant story. Before I let the tenants speak, I will ask Margaret Van Noten to come to the microphone. Margaret works with Project Genesis, and she can tell you the legal niceties of what's going on.
Hello everybody, thank you very much for coming. So I've been working at Project Genesis for decades also, and have grown very fond of many people in the neighborhood, and it was so disturbing when we realized, I was actually one tenant I was familiar with being taken to the rental board, and I just said, I know 100% this man has not missed a day of rent, and he hasn't been late for a day. So we looked at what was happening, and we saw that household after household was being taken for eviction across this cluster of buildings. We have accompanied some of the tenants to the rental board. We have seen what's happened, which is that people who have perfect payment record have been taken, some of them repeatedly, to the rental board, repeatedly. When a mistake can be made, it takes 3 minutes to fill out a form to do a discontinuance. Less than 3 minutes to fill out to cancel the case. It's just not a normal situation. It is, I cannot help but conclude, it shows a great lack of respect towards the tenants. I would say almost scorn. This is tenants who are trying to live their lives. The most important need that we have in this whole country, a roof over their heads, and it is being threatened. It's under assault. It's like there's a siege happening in people's homes, and it's really got to stop. It's just got to stop.
Thank you, Margaret. Now I'm going to call on a couple of the tenants to speak to you. J'aimerais reconnaître la présence un peu tard de Zachary Goudreau de Devoir. Et Zachary, on va le faire tout en français pour vous après. Okay? I'm going to call on Vanessa. Come to the microphone and tell us a little about what happened.
Hi guys, so I'm Vanessa, and we just migrated like 3 years ago, and ever since we migrated, we stayed here in this building. It's me, my husband, and my little kid, my son. So they've been asking for receipts starting way back 2019, which we don't keep. I don't keep like receipts for that long. But I have proof, and the supervisor or the janitor of the building told me that we don't have, or we don't owe any money from COVID. And he told me the logbook that he had, and true enough, I paid every month of the year that we stayed here in this building. They keep on asking for a different month every time I try to speak with them. And the next thing that we know, we received the final eviction letter from the tribunal, and we were asked to go September 11. Probably it's our make or break, and if they would do something about it, we will be evicted September 11. And as I mentioned, ever since we moved here, we've been paying every month. If it's not the first, probably it's like the day before the first, and it's been so stressful. We felt very harassed of this situation. We're immigrants, and it's very important to us to have this kind of support so that we, could fight with people who believes in us and people who's, just will back us up. And thank you so much for just being here and for hearing us out.
Thank you, Danessa. I'm sorry your family has to live this, particularly since you have always paid your rent, and one has to question why your landlord has made you come down for an eviction hearing with evidently no proof that you haven't paid. You have to really wonder about that. I'm going to ask Zenaida Alvarez to come and speak. Zenaida's the lady who forgot about the new conditions and didn't pay the $23, and now she's in big trouble. Zenaida.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Zenaida, and I have, as my friend discussed already, the same thing what happened to me, and I'm already an old woman and always stressed, and it adds too much. It's very, very hard for us, and I paid my rent every month. And that $23 is after they changed the rate. And because I'm already at my age of 71, what do you expect? I always forget everything, okay? It's very shame to say it, but I have to accept everything. And imagine, I get that 23 because of the sudden change of the rate of payment. They added $10 until it became with maybe some thing, and they gave me $23, and now I was already evicted. It's very inhuman. We're an immigrant here. We need your support, and you need also our support. That's all I can say. My friend said everything. What she feels is the same thing what I feel. So I hope Kojer will hear our plea. Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you, Zenaida. I'd just like to let everyone know that we are going to be appealing this case on Zenaida's behalf. Genesis will be filing opposition to the eviction. We think the eviction was abusive anyways, to start off with, and we thought the judge's reading of the law was questionable in this particular case. I'm going to allow one more tenant to speak before I ask the community groups to speak. I'm going to ask Sydney Weinstein to come to the microphone. Sydney's lived here for 37 years. All right. I remember when he moved in because I was elected 39 years ago. Now got one eviction notice, and he went to the board. They withdrew the eviction notice, and then as soon as he got home, they sent him another eviction notice. So tell us about that.
Okay, so I got a first eviction notice by a bailiff. I took the notice to the janitor, who grabbed it away and never got it back. I got another one in the mail. I went to the rental board. It was canceled. And then I got another notice to appear at the rental board. I called the rental board for the dates involved. No answers and nothing. So I'm going to go to Genesis and she's going to help me. And that's it. I've been here for many years. Never had any problem except for this new owner. Kojer is a piece of crap.
Thank you. Thank you, Sydney. And courage, we're going to stand with you. The only good thing to come out about this is the community groups have become aware of it, and we're all going to work together to give support to the tenants. So, I've told people you have to pay your rent, you have to pay it in a timely way, and you have to respect the rights of the landlord. But however, people are telling me it's the landlord that's not respecting their rights, and what they are seeing, they say, is harassment. They say the landlord's goal is clear, to chase them out of the apartments they've lived in for a long time. And the community groups have said that just isn't going to happen, and I'm here to back them up and tell Kojer, you've got to change your behavior. It's not going to work. I'm going to let you know a little bit about this street. Most of the people on the street come from elsewhere. There are a lot of immigrants who live on the street, new Canadian. People from the Philippines, from Bangladesh, from India, from Pakistan, from Jamaica, from other Caribbean islands. The street is largely comprised of visible minorities, but not entirely. There's still a Jewish population that's lived here in the neighborhood for an awfully long time. I'm going to ask Sharon Nelson, the Vice President of the Jamaica Association, to speak on behalf of her organization, which just recently celebrated its 59th year of service to the community here in Côte d'Ivoire.
Thank you, Sharon Karen Nelson, First Vice President, Jamaica Association. You know, when Marvin contacted me yesterday and I read through the documents as to what's happening here with the tenants and with Kojir, the first word that comes to my mind is unconscionable. That we're living in a pandemic, we're living in a city with low vacancy, and at this time there are about 50 families that are facing an eviction notice. And we saw what happened on July 1st. You know, there was a mad rush for people to find apartments. So where does Kojir expect these people who are good tenants pay their rent, respect the rules of engagement of living in this building and on the buildings on this street, and they're many new to the country, finding their way in this city, and many immigrants coming from different places. It's you know, how do they expect them to actually, you know, find new places to live or up their rent? The word that comes to mind is unconscionable in a pandemic. We're in a city with low vacancy. And Kojir, I'm asking you really to reconsider all these actions, because this is not necessary at this time. We have to get through, we're going through the fourth wave of the pandemic. There's families, as we talked about, children, elderly folks, you know, adults that are trying to make their way here. Kojir, I'm asking you to reconsider the situation, and definitely we will be fighting to make sure that these individuals have a roof over their head at this time. Thank you.
There'll be one more speaker before question period from the journalists. Before I do that, I'd like to introduce Stephanie Valenzuela, who is a municipal candidate with Ensemble Montreal for Darlington District, the other side of Victoria. The last speaker will be Sonny Morose, who is the Chief of Outreach for the Member of Parliament, Anthony Housefather. And for transparency's sake, I have to let you know he's candidate for municipal office to replace me in Snowden, as I'm not running in November. Sonny, please take the microphone.
Thanks, Marvin. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Magandang upama? I'm still working on it. This is not right. There's something wrong with a new owner coming in and forcing the property manager to evict 50 people from a low-income area. It makes no sense. This is something that would have gone unnoticed if it wasn't for a community leader making aware that someone had received an eviction notice for non-payment of rent for $23 in May. She pays her rent. She has the records of the checks being paid. This makes no sense. And Kojir has given no explanation as to why they're doing this. There are 50 people, and when you look at the list, most of them are Filipino citizens in Montreal. It makes you wonder why they're targeting people whose first language is not English or French. There are many English and French speakers in these buildings who did not receive those notices. On top of that, there are good people in these buildings with good intentions who have overpaid their rent this year, and they received the same letter. Kojir needs to provide an explanation, or they need to stop the harassment of people who pay their rent on time. I want to thank everyone who brought this to our attention, who went door knocking on all these buildings yesterday. A group of volunteers led by Margaret from Project Genesis, who meets with people on a regular basis and hears them out to make sure that their cases have the proper representation in court. There are many examples of people who went to court and who were unfairly treated by judges who will make sure that we are heard from. I want to thank all the media for coming today on a Saturday. It's not easy to put together an effort like this, but you're going to make a difference in these people's lives and in the other 40 families, not just individuals, but families who did not want to come today out of fear of reprisal. It's very important that we get this message out, because Kojir is not the only one acting this way. Kojir might be a big player in this, but there are others trying to take advantage of a situation where we can't get the word out. So we're trying to get the word out through you today. J'aimerais vous remercier pour être tous là, puis on va faire une différence ensemble. Merci beaucoup.